Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Talking Toys with Scott. He's Scott.
And he's Willie.
Today we're going to talk about Capsela, a cool toy line from the late 70s. I always wanted one of these, never had one, but luckily Scott's got one, so let him take it away and talk about it.
Well, Willie, these came in all sorts of grades, and mainly they were sold by number. So this is set number 300, right? So there's everything from like the most basic entry kit, which would have been about half this number of components and half the size, usually without a motor, or without anything electrical, all the way up to the master sets that would be as big as this tabletop that just had tremendous amounts of parts and accessories. And they were all interchangeable, so you could really play around and get a lot done. These were sold as sort of science adventure kits, to teach mechanical reasoning and motion, and you would have something like this, and it could float in the water on these little floats for whatever reason. And then there's a motor here, a gear reduction here to slow things down, a differential here so you could actually go around corners and all, and then of course other random structures that they would just come up with, and even a little propeller to top it off if you wanted. It had
Or make a boat.
Yeah. And we did, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. So it was kind of neat in just teaching, again, mechanical reasoning, building little vehicles, and pretty easy to reconfigure. You could take it apart. It had a number of basic components. You would have the little cells like that, right? Is that on the camera okay? Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So you would have these little cells like this. Then you would have couplers that would join the cells together. And then, of course, wheels with tires, and then floats. And then, random stuff like, a propeller. So you sort of had all these basic things to build with. And you could create quite a lot of things. I mean, if you wanted to, you could remove these floats, and then use the wheel assembly here, right? And you could literally flip this around, and then you would put on 2 more wheels, and now you'd have a little 4-wheel moon buggy, right? And then if you wanted to, you could put the propeller out front on the 4-wheel moon buggy, and now you had a 4-wheel moon buggy with a propeller, right? So it really was a pretty neat building set. There were a lot of these out at the time. Capsela, as I understand it, was sold overseas, and they sort of imported it and repackaged it for the U.S. These survived. They kind of left the commercial market around the mid-'80s. They were in the Sears catalog and all for years. I mean, all the different versions of them, from the late 70s up through the mid-'80s. And then once they kind of disappeared from that market, they were repackaged and sold under other names, and survived for quite some time in various iterations. So it's a pretty typical assortment we have here with the floating, driving, flying kind of combo kits, and then an assortment of your cells and your couplers. The motor, the battery, the unit. And then the packaging was also pretty neat. They gave you a good idea of what you could do with it, right? So they started off by showing you, hey, this kit can build these different things, right? So you have the revolving tower, the hot rod, the big giant tanker, the floating thing. And this, you could actually get this stuff wet because it was all just plastic, right? The only metal in it was some of the gear shafts, and those were pretty impervious. So you could have here, for example, a floating assembly with a gearbox driving a propeller down under the water. The racing car,
Radar.
this radar unit, yeah, and that's kind of what we snapped together here real quick, and it was just a creative building system. And on the back, they always showed you kind of what it came with, right? So it would show you all the layouts of the parts. And like I said, this is a kind of an intermediate set. Now, obviously, the more parts it came with, the bigger the Capsela set, the cooler it was.
Oh, yeah.
But it's kind of like Lego, right? You can get a basic Lego set, then you can get a bunch of individual blocks. You can, build more and more and more, and it doesn't have to end up being what you started with. So the neatest thing about this, in my experience, was firecrackers. So we would build, because I had kind of like the master set, and these things you could go to the store and get like expansion. It would usually be like a package that had like 6 of these and 4 of those, that were just designed for, and they were like pretty inexpensive. So what we do is we build something like this, right, or the tanker, right, and we put the caps over the ends so that kind of like this little sucker here, and that would slow down the water, right? Then you put your firecracker in here, and these come in half. So when there's a coupler, right, like these little clear couplers here, it's quite strong. I mean, it snaps over it, and this thing is not coming in half whatsoever. But without the couplers, it just pops right open. So what we do is we build like that tanker, right? We get it floating. Then we put the firecracker in here. You remember the black cats with the long fuse, right?
Yes.
And it would just bang, and the whole symbol would come apart, And it was, most of the time, it would leave like scorch marks on it. It didn't break it. I only once or twice did I ever shatter one, and that was with, some retardedly powerful M80 kind of stuff. So that was fun. But Capsela was a great educational toy. And I think they're also trying to push this in schools, but I don't remember any schools that ever had Capsela.
No, I don't remember in schools. At least mine didn't have them.
Yeah.
I remember looking at the Christmas catalogs, wishing for one though.
Yeah. And it wasn't, as I recall, it wasn't all that expensive. It was just, you didn't get everything you asked for, but...
well, my parents bought me lots of Legos, and they figured they bought something that was different. They'd end up buying a bunch of stuff for that, which they probably would have been.
Yeah.
So they stuck with just buying me Legos.
Yeah, I think my parents weren't, big on buying me Legos. It was more, I guess, stuff like this. But, man, you look at some of the Lego stuff now, it's ridiculous how neat and complex it is.
Yeah.
Lego had a lot more lifespan to it, but Capsela was. These are easy to get. There's tons of these all over eBay, and because they all snap together, it doesn't matter what one you get or how many you get. Neat thing though. Neat little piece of history.
It's awesome. Love these little kids.
Oh boy! Yeah!
Hey, there's Hasbro. Hasbro makes toys. What's new, Hasbro?
Pretty sneaky, sis.
Remember, you can tell it's Mattel. It's...
Okay, let 'em go. Some of the great SSP racers for 72.
M-A-R-X spells Mark, world's largest toy maker.
Remember, every boy wants a Remco toy. And so do